Hello everybody, John Craig here with Performance Plus Tennis, known as the serve builder in the online tennis world. In today's lesson, we're going to break down the serve of J.J. Wolf. And of course, J.J. has a big serve, but he does some things on his serve that I don't think you should be trying to copy to improve your serve performance. So we're going to break down his serve today, and we're also going to compare it to a couple of model servers whose technique I think you should be trying to copy to improve your serve performance. And if you stick around till the end, I got a special offer for you that's going to help you improve your serve. Thanks for watching today's lesson. Enjoy the video.
Terror to JJ's serve here, but before we do that, let's give a big shout out to 12K GP Tennis, who provided a portion of this video here, and they've got a great channel here on YouTube, so go ahead and check that out. And let's go right into JJ's serve here, and you can see he's got a very conventional start, weight slightly on the back foot, arms bend together, but now they're separating apart. He's got a really nice start here as he's lifting the left arm. He's leading with the left hand, which I'm a big fan of that. Ideally, that's really what we want to do, is we want to lead with that left and lag behind with our playing arm. Okay, much more, sets up a much better coordination for your serve. Okay, so let's keep moving here, and we can see that JJ's tossing arm actually extends out over the baseline from this angle, but it actually goes beyond that, which we'll address a little bit later in the video. And here's where he starts to get a little different. His arm is rising to release the ball, and his legs are bending at the same time, which is very interesting because by the time the ball leaves his hand, he's got quite a leg bend, which is a little bit different than most servers. Okay, it's his style, no big deal, it's his style. But watch how he brings the back foot up into his pinpoint, and this is the first thing I noticed that I'm not really that big of a fan of, is that his feet just look like they're not well aligned. And you can see that they're not well aligned, and more of the weight is on the back foot than on the front foot. So the front foot, you can actually look how he rolls on the outside of that left foot, which is very unusual. Okay, so I think that we could do a better job here of getting his legs and his feet lined up and share the balance of his body equally between both feet. Okay, you'll see here when he drives up, he's primarily driving off the back leg. Next thing we want to watch here is that as the ball is rising, look at the ball still rising. He's already entering his swing. The ball's still rising, and he's already committed to his swing. Now, that's because he has a low toss, and he's the style of player that plays the ball pretty close to the apex, right, in this area. This is about where he's going to make contact. Ball's still rising. Here he comes quickly, and he's already into his swing. Now, the trick of that is that you've got to be pretty committed to your swing very early on. And there are theories out there that you have more time if you have a low toss because the ball sits in the apex. But you can even see here in JJ's case that the ball's probably still fallen 6 inches, but maybe 8 inches. Okay, so he's not really hitting at the apex, but it's a very difficult thing to time. Okay, very few players do that. That's why you don't see many players on the WTA or ATP tour with this style of serve. You usually see the toss is going to be up higher. Okay. The other thing that happens here in JJ's serve, when he's in his loaded position here, he is in a position where he has, in what we call in the racket fit world, an S-curve. And that's where the glutes are protruding out more than are ideal. And that puts pressure on your lower back and can cause problems and injuries. So, you know, he's a great athlete, no doubt about it. He's super strong, and obviously he's training hard. But I can see two things here that I would say for a recreational player could be potentials for injuries. So I would be careful about those two areas at this point in time. Okay, so let's keep going here. And this is another issue here, is where he's breaking the plane with his racket. And if we had the camera set up over here along the baseline going this way, whoops, I didn't want that marker, going this way, you would see the racket on the right side of his body, and that's called breaking the plane. And that's usually indicated by a swing that starts before the body has really triggered it to start. So you can see that his shoulders are almost in the same position they were in, but his racket has made a substantial move around to the back of him, which makes his swing less efficient than is ideal. And we're going to compare that to a couple other servers here in a little bit. Okay, so those are kind of the couple key things that I see at this stage in the serve. When he comes around, he's got an amazing, beautiful racket drop. He's got tremendous flexibility, strength, looks really good coming into contact. And then here's the other thing I'm concerned about. When he comes down, he comes across very early. I mean, look at the rackets coming across him. It's nowhere near down. His elbow is still almost near the top of his head, and yet the racket's coming across the body. And this forms what's called the power X. Okay, And the power X is where the two arms cross. And I'm not a big fan of this because ideally you're going to be rotating your swing out away from your body for a right-hander out to the right. And this is going to cause an impingement in the shoulder and cause problems. So this is an over-exaggerated power X, if you will. Way over-exaggerated. You don't need to do this. There's almost no player on the tour that does it to this extreme. So I'd be very, very careful about this because this is another area where you could get an injury. So those are the things that I'm concerned about. Next up, we're going to take a look at Felix Auger Aliassime serve. We're going to compare it to that of JJ, and you're going to see more of what we would like to see JJ make on his serve. Or, for you, most importantly, as a player at home, the things you can do to improve your serve performance, but at the same time reduce your chances of injury. So here we're going to get right into Felix Auger Aliassime, whose serve I'm really a very big fan of. Let's break it down. So here we go. You can see Felix is also on his back foot. He shifted his back foot to start his serve. He leads with the left hand to place the ball up. The ball is rising up nice and high for him. And you'll see that he doesn't bring his back leg up so soon. His legs are comfortably flexed, but he's going to go into a much deeper bend right here. At this stage in time, this is very similar in the lower body. We're going to just examine the lower body first to JJ. And the similarities are that the knees are really out in the same direction, although JJ's are not aligned in the same way that Felix are. You can see Felix has perfect alignment in his legs, his knees, and his feet. So this is more of what you'd be trying to copy in your pinpoint serve versus JJ, where he's got a misalignment that we'll see a little bit later in the video as well. The other key thing here you can see is that Felix has a very, very good angle here in his shoulders. Very strong shoulder-over-shoulder action. Looks beautiful. And he's got a terrific stretch in the left arm that's actually past vertical, which really is helping him get into this coiled position. Okay. Another big difference between the two serves, of course, is the height of the ball. Okay. Now we can see that the ball is quite high here, and we're going to compare that in slow motion. And we're going to stop at contact. Okay. And we can see that there's your distance between the top of the ball and the contact point. And if we compare that to the length of a racket, which is 27 inches, it's fair to say this is probably a 36-inch racket ball drop from the top into the contact. Okay, but when you watch this serve, it didn't look like that at all. In fact, we'll go back and look at it again real quick here. Okay, let's go back and take a look. Does it look like it drops that much? Not at all. So I would be very careful about having not having a ball tossed this up nice and high. This is going to help you get in great coiled position. It's going to help you go through a full range of motion. It's going to help you measure onto the ball, and it's going to help you coordinate your movement for more power and ultimately get you up to the top. That's beautiful. Okay, and you'll see here that when Felix is in this position, he loads in beautifully. He's got a beautiful alignment. The racket is on the right side of his body. Look at the racket here on the right side of his body, sitting over here. At this point in the serve, JJ's racket is actually behind his head and is starting to make that big move behind his head in that sort of big looping fashion to come around and up to the ball, which is much less efficient than we're going to see here from Felix. Okay? And you'll see that when Felix makes his move to play the ball, his legs will drive up while his tossing arm will pull away in a semicircle. And that will trigger the shoulders to move first and the racket to fall and rise naturally behind him into the perfect position. Look at that coming up. And here's another key thing. Okay, let's take a look at this really quick here. Okay, this is about the lowest that his racket gets. Notice here, this is a bonus tip. Notice that the left hand is at the same level as the bottom of the racket. Okay, so if your coach is telling you keep your arm up, be careful, because what you want to do is you do want to get the left arm up into a nice strong stretch for sure, because that helps you get into this position. But then you want to use it, and you want to use it as the catalyst, as the trigger, along with your leg drive, to get the racket to fall and rise. Look at that. And now watch his left hand again. Look where it is here. I'm going to put a circle around it. And watch how it rises up as he comes into contact. Look at that. So it's counterbalancing the power he's taking into the ball. And that's a subtle but significant movement there you want to get that left hand to be doing. Okay? And then finally, look how different his follow-through is. It's off to the right as he pronates, long axis pronation, off to the right and down. And his racket doesn't come across his body until it reaches the bottom right there. And the left hand releases folks, there's no power X in this serve. It's a beautiful serve, and it's natural, and it doesn't put you in any position where you could get an injury from the serve. Beautiful serve. Okay, so that's the comparison there. And next up, we're going to take a look at JJ's serve side by side with another famous server. Let's take a look. Okay, let's compare the serves of JJ Wolf here with Roger Federer, and you can see that the start of the serve is pretty similar in many ways. You can see that. Feet are in a little bit different position, but that's just style. Okay, things are looking pretty good here. You can see that Roger's tossing arm, it extends more along the baseline, but slightly in front of the baseline. You can see this on a little bit of an angle this way, almost out over the left toes. And you'll see that with JJ, he has a little bit of a different move here. He has what we call a J toss, and that's where we go this way, and we're going to talk about that a little bit more. What usually happens with this is something that doesn't help amateur players, and we'll address that in a little bit. Okay, as we go into the movement here, let's take a look. Roger's placing the ball up. He still hasn't really bent his legs that much yet because he's created time for himself. Notice I said he's created time, where right now you see that JJ's already down his legs and the ball's just barely rising out of the hand. He already has to get into his legs because he's running out of time. Okay, so this is a much trickier movement. Okay, and now you can see from this side angle that JJ's got this misalignment with his legs and his feet. You can see the feet are in awkward positions. So I would be very careful about that versus when you're going to see with Roger here, he's going to have a perfect alignment with his balance. Okay, and you can also see from this angle that although it's less so, you can see this S curve is occurring, and you can see with Roger he's got a perfect alignment with his body. So explains why Roger really didn't have many injuries in his career, because he really played within his alignment, his natural alignment of his body. The knee injuries he had actually originated off the court. Unfortunately, that was very unfortunate thing for his career. But nonetheless, we can see that Roger's in a much better position to make a move to the ball. Very, very efficient. JJ's got a lot more movement, a lot more things to do here. He's a great athlete, so he can do it. Here, from this angle, you can see the racket's breaking the plane of the body, where with Roger, the racket is really, more in this area at the most. You can see with JJ, it's getting out into this area, so he's having to make a pretty big, long looping action to get around. Excuse me on that. Big, long looping action behind him to get up to the ball. You'll see that Roger's movement is much more efficient. Okay. Okay, from here, not too dissimilar in coming up to the ball. And contact, excuse me, pretty similar. You'll see Roger's head is a little bit more to the side because he is more of a shoulder-over-shoulder server. JJ is a little bit more of a shoulder around. He's got his shoulders on a horizontal plane more than Roger does. But he comes around, and here's where the difference is. Look at Roger's racket staying off to the right-hand side, and then look at where we have JJ's serve, and that arm and shoulder are almost pinching into his ear. So be careful about that. Look where Roger's is. So that's just a big, big deal there for me. Okay, the end at this point in time is not that critical. But I would avoid this. This power X thing right in here is very, very weird and awkward, and I wouldn't do that. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look here again. The serve, big S curve, misalignment with the feet, slightly, big swing, breaking the plane, pinching the shoulder across. Those are all things that I'd be very, very concerned about. All right, and in Roger's case, very simple, very clean, very easy to model after, and certainly one of the most efficient and effective serves in the history of tennis. So that's it for this video. Please leave your comments down below. I'll reply to everyone's comments. Give us a like if you enjoyed this video and this lesson. Subscribe to our channel if you've not done so already. And finally, I did say in the beginning that I was going to offer a free gift, and that is access to my free mini course on the fundamental things you need to master to achieve your full potential in your serve. Just click in the description down below to gain access to that free video lesson. Stay tuned. We've got a lot more coming here at Performance Plus Tennis, and we'll see you in the next lesson.